Oh, you didn't know? Well, you better call somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Front Row Material proudly brings to you the hottest podcast tandem in the world, the real deal Ritt, the Rockstar Renegade, 6 degrees of Ritt and Renegade.
And if you're not down with that, I've got 5 words for you. Let's get ready to ramble! Man, that does not get old. Renegade, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
I am doing okay. Ready for this is the week of the vacation starting, so I'm counting down the hours.
Oh, man. It's got to feel good to know the only work you got to do is putting up with me for 2 hours a week, and that's it.
I'll manage.
Well, you're going to have to. But, man, big stuff coming from Front Row Material. We just launched today. Man, can't wait to sit there and show this. Bam! There it is at the bottom of the screen. Head on over to brainbustertees.com/other/front row material. And you will pick up some of the hottest merchandise that you've been waiting to get your hands on. We've got everything over there. Not everything is up on the website yet, but we got your FRM Pod stamp shirts. We've got the beanies. We've got the masks. We've got the hoodies. We've got the zip-ups. Man, we've got all those. Then we also got, yes, Boog, this goes right out to you. We've got the Cult of Beardo shirts ready. They're hot. They're ready to get sold. Head on over there. Check them out. And then, of course, we got Future Stars now. That's ready. They're ready to get rolled right out. Renegade, you seen the merch. What are your thoughts?
It's good stuff, man. I'm already got my eye on a few things. So I'm anxiously awaiting the 6 degrees of Ritt and Renegade merch to be
that is
unveiled.
That is fantastic, man. That is fantastic. And of course, man, Boog, I'm telling you now, why are you watching the podcast? You should be in another tab buying a Cult of Beardo t-shirt just because you have asked me for so long. Jersey Devil, how the hell are you? Yes, they are Merch Whore approved. Freeland will be getting absolutely nothing for free. He's going to have to go make his own, just like he did with the original. But, man, the 6 degrees of Ritt and Renegade shirt will be up on the website soon. It's going to be our fantastic logo. And Renegade and I, we picked a red shirt just to make the design stand out more. We're also maybe going to go into black also. We just want to see how the red looks first. So, Renegade, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Renegade?
No, I think the black will be nice. I think the red, I can't wait to see it, but I think the red will look cool too.
Yes, I can't wait. So, Renegade.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go down that rabbit hole, my man?
I was born ready. And this one is one of those topics that could get your heart rate going, your blood pressure through the roof, because it has mine in the past.
Oh, man.
So are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be. I know you and I have got some bloodbaths on this topic. but
Well, thankfully, we typically stand on the same side of it. So before we ramble on too long before we even get to the topic name, this show is about John Cena. Is John Cena actually one of the greats? Or a different part of the question, is the dislike for John Cena warranted? Is it fair?
okay.
So,
Renegade, I'm gonna let you open. I'm gonna let you start the first shovel load down the rabbit hole.
okay, so I'm going to try to leave emotion out of this. I get a little heated talking about John Cena, especially to people who are just like blind John Cena fans that can't dish out any criticism at all, because literally anyone in any profession should be able to take some kind of criticism. You know, nobody's perfect. You know, people even look back at Michael Jordan and pick apart his strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So I would say I don't particularly look at him as one of the greatest ever. And there's the typical chance for Cena in the comment section. For a bunch of different reasons. So I can certainly give him, let me give him a pro first. One of the pros on John Cena is he has been a good leader of the brand, a representation of the brand. I will give him that. I don't want to be 100% across the board John Cena hate, but I will say he has represented the brand and the company very well. He was good in that role. But I will say, in comparison to some of the greatest of all times, when you go through that Mount Rushmore list, right? I would say if you break apart his career, where does he rank up against them? So he's certainly, in my book of what a good promo is, he's below a lot of the top guys. Can he talk? Lots of people can talk. Can you deliver a promo that's memorable, that is either funny, very seriously gets your point across? One of my favorite things about Triple H is when Triple H would get angry, you believed he was angry, and he could be funny. Like he was really good across the board, but I don't ever hear a lot of people really bring him up in promo abilities. But so John Cena, to me, he's well below Chris Jericho. He's well below The Rock. He's well below Austin. He's well below Ric Flair. Like, I don't think John Cena when someone says promos. His name doesn't come up. Wrestling ability. Okay. He can do some things well. He bumps like a tranquilized rhinoceros, which bothers me to no end. I'm sure there's probably other top guys that kind of bumped awkward, especially some of the bigger guys.
Hogan, Nash.
Yeah. So, but for a guy, he's smaller than Hogan and Nash, but bigger than most of the guys. So I can kind of understand having a bulky body would make falling down kind of awkward. But visually, it's not very appealing. Like he's not fluid. It's just that bumping stuff always aggravated me. He was too corny. It's one of the biggest knocks. Like there were times where I'm like, I want Cena to just tap into this aggression level when it was time for like a big fight match, to really get serious and really break it down and get aggravated and angry, and he wouldn't do it. He'd still cutting pee and poop jokes. He was smiling most of the time. It almost gave you the sense that he didn't take his opponent seriously. He didn't take what was happening seriously. And I think that hurts. It hurt the rivalries he was in. It hurt the feuds and the storylines. Um, but look, I can't really knock the look too much. The jean shorts is kind of whatever, but uh, big build. Uh, yeah, I mean, I just don't line him up along with the guys like Austin Brock, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. I don't put him up there because I don't think he did anything uh, large enough to really stand out. That's just my view.
Okay, Renegade. Are you sitting down, brother?
Thankfully.
Okay. John Cena to me. You want to break it down? I'm going to break it down just like you broke it down. Promos. If you go early John Cena, Thugonomics John Cena, when he actually wrote his own stuff, I could put some of that stuff up there with a lot of the greats. With him, rapping and bashing, a lot of the people. That was some great stuff. But it seemed to me once he went face and he was directed to be more towards the children, more of the scripted promo, then all of a sudden you got the John Cena on Barney Rubble type stuff. Hence all the Fruity Pebble shirts. Emotion wise, one of the biggest emotions, two of the biggest emotions I remember John Cena's career. Ruthless aggression, which I think if he kept that on the big money stages, like you were talking about, if he channeled that, man, that would have been some good shit. And the look of disappointment on his face when he lost at WrestleMania to The Rock. When he was sitting there on the rampway, because he thought he was going to walk all over The Rock. But when The Rock won, and he was in utter disbelief and shock, WrestleMania logo in the background. Man, he made you sit there and think, damn, he's really, I can't believe he lost. Bumping wise, he ranks right there with Hogan to me. You've got so many moves. That's all you can do. You have to feed off of the fans more. Boog makes a good comment. Was Cena issue was that he was just around at the wrong time. Where could we have put Cena? Excuse me, in his character, what era where it would have thrived? Maybe 80s with Hogan?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Especially the long face run where he was basically the same thing for 15 years. When he was the doctor of Thugonomics, he probably could have fit in the 90s somewhere. But certainly face Cena it had Hulk Hogan written all over it. Hustle, loyalty, respect is say your prayers and take your vitamins.
Would you sit there and think that was Vince's closest accomplishment of reinventing Hulkamania? Because he tried several times and got it wrong and had to go back to Hogan. Do you think John Cena was the closest to Hulkamania that we will or would ever have seen?
I think so. Do you think he did that on purpose? To kind of prove that it wasn't Hogan that was behind Hulkamania, it was Vince. So if I do it twice, it's me, not, the talent, right? I think Vince wants more of the credit than the talent gets, which is probably why you don't see a lot of stars being built. It's not about them now.
Exactly. But, man, now let's go the other half of the coin you talked about. The hate for Cena. I think a lot of the fans the smarter fans dislike Cena, not because of who John Cena was. John Cena will do anything, make a wish foundation. You know, his morals are right up there. But I just think they didn't like and do not like the fact of being told who they are going to cheer for. That they do the same thing with Roman Reigns until they turn him heel. And guess what? Now the fans enjoy him more.
Right. So there's a little bit of aspect of, like you said, the fans choosing. You know, back in the day, just back to the 90s even, and I'm sure it was like this beforehand to a degree, but we talked about before how Austin got into the position that he wasn't supposed to be there. You know, he had a little bit of luck, but the fans got behind him big time and really propelled him to the top, because I feel like Triple H was supposed to be the guy before Austin. It certainly was looking like it was setting up that way. You know, then you have Austin cut the promo, he wins the King of the Ring, all that stuff goes down, and he just skyrockets to the top. The Rock deconstructed where he started, changed his character, and the fans ate it up. Just ate it up, and he skyrocketed to the top. I don't think they pushed him with the intent that he was going to be the guy he became. Then, for whatever reason, John Cena comes around, and they start doing this picking who the top guy is. And maybe they've always done that. But other things have kind of taken place. Through Cena's era, once you get past like the angles and stuff like that, from Cena down the card, and after your big time names have gone on, who was there to rival him? So he really was the clear cut choice for them to make the big name star. Randy Orton maybe, but he's had a lot of issues, and I think that kind of set him back a little bit. Brock Lesnar, and then we saw the situation he was in where he wasn't ready, and stepped away.
Bobby Lashley's another one that was pushed way too early, way too quick.
So Cena's one of the few that they picked, and it stuck. Roman, they tried to do it again. It wasn't working. You had to do something different. It's working well enough. I still am not fully on board with Roman Reigns as a performer yet, but this seems to be working better than what they've done before. I do not like picking a guy. I think the fans should dictate pushes to a degree. You certainly have to kind of use your head with that too. But
Jersey Devil comes with a great point. There's love-hate warranted during the first part of his run, but I think Super Cena was where the most hate came from. Oh my goodness, just anybody that you could have had the hottest star go up against Cena, and you were done. Nexus. They started off on fire, tearing up the ring, you know, the whole 9 yards, choking the referee. Then all of a sudden, John Cena single-handedly beats him.
All of them.
All of them. You know, that's ridiculous. Ryback, you know, built to be a monster, faces John Cena, nothing. You know, the Great Khali, he was built to be a monster, and John Cena made him tap. Rusev at WrestleMania, that was built, and it could have been built so much bigger. But Rusev faced Cena, and that was it.
That really was the start of the end of his career.
Yeah.
They couldn't really push him much after that.
But look, if you look at the people I'm talking about, and there's only one person that I can think of, was Hogan in the 80s. Vince kept him on top and kept feeding him heels. King Kong Bundy, You know, Kamala, Andre, Piper, you know, Dino Bravo. The list gets kept going on. And
Right, but that worked then. Like you could do that then, because Hogan was a hero to so many people, like so many people, and it worked because you didn't have too many. You didn't have in between guys then. You either had clear cut baby faces or you were a clear cut heel. Austin came around and basically changed the game. He was a gray area superstar, whether he wasn't fully babyface and he wasn't fully heel. He was going to do my own thing, do whatever I want, and if you like it, cool. If you don't, whatever.
I've got to say that it was a little before that. I think ECW was the first place where you were getting the gray area. Like
you're probably right.
Yeah. Shane Douglas, you know, you wanted to hate him, but it was cool. You know, heck, even WCW, NWO, man, those faces over there, they don't want nothing to do with the NWO. What? I'm getting booked against the NWO? Oh, I don't want to, because they knew they'd be buried. The NWO was so hot, any baby face minus a couple, like Sting, you know, Flair, and even Flair even got buried by the NWO. You know, it just, you didn't want them because they made being, you know, heels cool.
Right. So once that came along, white meat, what do they call them? White meat baby faces.
Yep.
Were no longer acceptable. You couldn't pull it off anymore because you were, I mean, seen as corny or boring at this point. Once those groups and guys came around and did that, where it was cool to like somebody who kind of blurred the lines a little bit. You couldn't pull another Hogan off again, and you saw that because maybe like Jersey Devil said at the beginning of Cena's career, and people were kind of on board. But as time went on, certainly the crowd was split. Most guys didn't like him, but kids and women did. And, you know, there are very few female wrestling fans that I would, general female wrestling fans that I would talk to. And if their response to Cena is, well, he's hot, that's not really an argument for me of whether or not he's good.
If you want to go by looks, then how come Val Venus wasn't pushed to the moon? You know, how come Ravish and Rick? If wrestling business was based on your physique, why wasn't Ravish and Rick Rude a 36-time champion? You know what I mean? Why wasn't the Ultimate Warrior have bigger title runs? No, it's the connection to the fans. And for some reason, kids and women, for two totally different reasons, connected with John Cena.
I mean, I get the kids aspect, right? Because I was a kid and Hogan was end all be all. Like Hogan was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And being young, you don't understand, you don't know what you don't know. And it's hard for you to sit there and gee, Dad, I just don't think Hogan bumps well. Like you would never say that because it's a magical, wrestling was a magical thing back then. It was larger than life characters, colorful characters, all these other things that it just swept you away. And when you get older, that's when you sit there and pick apart things like, wow, you know, Hogan wasn't as good as I remember seeing when I was a kid, or you know, you could pick apart Cena as an adult. With the kids, I don't blame because he's their Hulk Hogan. He's their larger than life, you know, character that makes them believe in themselves and all these things. He does represent a lot of good things, and I can't take that away from him. It just as a character doesn't work today. You can't be that clean-cut babyface and be widely accepted.
No, you can't be a goody as John Cena is. Look, first off, I want to say what's going on, J-Rod. Glad you can stop over here. You know, but I see that over in AEW with Cody Rhodes. Like, he's probably one of the clear-cut, cleanest baby faces over there you have. And the fans just hate him. Like he's doing he did all the right things. You know, he's never gonna have a title run. You know, he lost the match, lost that opportunity. So, and he's helping elevate all these other younger stars. But for some reason, they just don't like him. Like, and I don't understand why. He's pushing all these young, up and coming stars. Is it because of, he's too bland? Is it because he's given himself a lot of on-air time? Is he AEW's version of John Cena, where no matter what Cody does until he turns heel, he's going to be hated?
That's quite possible. It's a little different in his aspect because he has more control. He's one of the owners of the company.
Vice presidents.
Vice president. Yeah. So he has a little bit more say in the things that happen. Where Cena, maybe without pulling some politics stuff, really wasn't in that position. Although I certainly think there were times where he didn't say no when he probably should have. I think he should have upheld Nexus and said, "I'm not running through them all because we can build something here." In my book, it makes him a yes man. It was like, "Okay, boss, I'll do what you want." Yep.
It would have been so much better if he would have picked off each member of Nexus one at a time, and then once he finally got to Wade Barrett, that's like the match.
Yeah, he didn't help Wade Barrett in the slightest. They should have been building, especially Wade Barrett, more than what they did. But once he ran through them all, not one of those guys had a chance. Not one. And as you see, as you went on, guys just started dropping like flies from that group. They just disappeared. They were released. And some of those guys had some real talent. Wade Barrett, I think, was certainly the standout. I don't know why I can't remember. Ryback was
good old Skip Sheffield.
Yeah, Skip Sheffield came up first. Huge dude. Kind of a weird gimmick with the hungry hippo type thing, but
wait, are we talking about Skip Sheffield or are we talking Otis?
Oh, you know what? I need to make one of those with Otis heads that eat the little hungry Otis.
We're sending it to Butt for Christmas.
There you go. I certainly wouldn't want to see one of those games with the butt. There's little butts that eat little pellets. But anyway, yeah. So him running through them, didn't he do the same thing to Bray Wyatt?
Yeah,
he beats Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt was never the same. It was never the same after that, and he started gaining some steam again with the Fiend, and the sack full of orange. He was gaining some steam as the Fiend, and then we had what we had, and they released him. But he was never quite the same after that, and of course, one of the last, not counting Randy Orton, one of the last big feuds he had was against John Cena, and at least thankfully this time Bray Wyatt came out on top. But there has been also, and I think you have to sort of take this into account as well, some of the personal things, the real life aspect of John Cena, some of that you have to kind of take into account to a degree. I think on certain levels, depending on how you're talking about him, you have to separate the two, the man from the character.
Yes, because the man, he's hand and fist above the rest, in my opinion. He has the most Make-A-Wish Foundation.
See, but the one thing I would question on that, and that's a great thing. I think anyone who does those things it's amazing what you do for those people in their you know unfortunate situation they're in. But some of that I have to question is how much of that is obligation versus a want to do it. Yes, he's been requested the most and has done it the most, but I want to say there's a part of that that goes he may have an obligation to say yes per the company.
Okay, let's go another route. His undying drive for the troops. You know, the military. He's right up there with all of them. You know, I would say he's right up there with his commitment to the troops. Just like JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, who came up with the Tribute to the Troops show. You know,
right? But there are personal flaws. I mean, listen, there are personal flaws with every single human being on this earth. I don't want to say that with a self-righteous high horse attitude of, well, I'm better than him. No, listen, I'm flawed just as well. But when you're talking about a person, you do have to sometimes measure the man with the character and all those things. So judge a person by the character of their content or content of their character. Switch that. But so yes, the military thing is that's big and it's awesome that he does that. The Make-A-Wish thing, it's awesome that he does that. I just want to say I hope he does it for the right reasons and isn't doing it only strictly out of obligation. Because I have heard things where he could seemingly come across kind of douchey, and I cannot verify any of those things that were ever said about him were true, because you have to sometimes take things with a grain of salt because of the source they're coming from. If it's a former disgruntled employee who felt like they were wronged by Cena, then you would have to question their motive in trashing him. So I don't want to say that anything that was ever said negative about him is actually factual. Thank you, and that's just I feel like it's a valid question, because if he's doing it strictly out of obligation, then I mean shame on him, because they're exploiting these people. And granted, I think at the end of the day, it makes them feel amazing. Big deal, because that's what's really more important than any of that stuff. If they have a smile on their face and they feel really good in that moment, by all means, he can be as self-serving as he wants to be, because that's what's most important, is the takeaway. But his character is what would stand out, and that would be a knock on him for that. So, because lots of the wrestlers have done Make-A-Wishes. Yeah, he's done more than anyone else, but more that's because he's asked for it, not because he, you know, if it was the stat was he has visited more children's hospitals or visited people in the hospital on his own free will, I mean, you can't argue that at all. But when you are requested, and you may have a company obligation to uphold those requests, my hope is that you do that willingly out of the goodness of your own heart, versus just saying I do it because I have to. But a number of former wrestlers have come out against him and said that he buries them backstage to the other boys. Alex Riley.
Yes.
He's one that felt like Cena sabotaged him backstage. I think Ryback was another. Kennedy, I think, said was a combination of Cena and Orton that kind of dogged him.
I thought it was Orton and Triple H.
It may have been, but some of the same things have been said about John Cena. So, and again, like I said, nobody's perfect. We all have flaws. Maybe that's one of his is he's willing to sabotage other wrestlers to keep the spot that he had, and then turn around and say, kind of the Vince McMahon grab the brass ring. Oh, anyone's take your opportunity. I think he would say the things he needed to say on camera, and then dog you behind your back to the other boys and bury you.
And once again, I'm going to sit there and compare him to the only man that I can compare him to, Hulk Hogan. Hogan did not want to give his spot up. He wanted to hold everybody down. Yeah, did he let Macho Man, the Ultimate Warrior, both of them have his spot? Yeah. But for some reason, he knew that he was getting his spot back, especially with Warrior. It took a roundabout. Warrior had to lose it to Slaughter. Slaughter turning heel. And then Hogan beat Slaughter. And we're back to square one.
Yeah.
Even the King of the Ring. Before that, when Bret Hart lost to Yokozuna. And by the end of WrestleMania, once again, who's on top? Hulk Hogan.
And yeah, Bret was blindsided by that. He didn't get it. And understandably so. See, Hogan, again, and these are things that I started to see as an adult that it would have went over my head as a kid. Hogan seems to also be one of those people that will do certain things behind the scenes, but then in public say, "Hey, we were passing the torch, brother," or "We were, it was his time and my turn to move on." And what he said, Undertaker hurt him when he tombstoned him on that chair, which clearly there was like 3 feet of space between his head and that chair. So he does seem like one of those that tells a different tale of history in the public, and then things are different behind the scenes.
Look what he did to the Giant, or Paul White, the Big Show. He's seen him, and he's like, all he's seen was dollar signs. That was it. He's like, I can make him. Hogan knew his career was coming to an end. Up until Eric Bischoff called him, flew down, and said, "Hey, I got this NWO thing." Hogan wasn't sure. Bischoff said this plenty of times. Hogan wasn't sure about turning heel. He's like, "It's the red and yellow, brother." Then all of a sudden, he started seeing the Hall and Nash, how much heat they were getting, the popularity. And then they sit there and said, Hogan calls up and he goes, "You still want me?" Because he's seen dollar signs. He's seen, this is how I get my top spot back. And he was right. Everybody says that Edge is the ultimate opportunist. You got to put Hogan right up there. You got to put John Cena right up there. But we're not talking in front of the cameras. We're talking behind the cameras.
That is, and we say it allegedly because we certainly cannot verify any of these things that were said as being actually factual. But you can make the case based on trajectory, how their careers panned out, that certainly could be true. Cena was never in any threat to be knocked out of that spot, not even by Randy Orton, who I think is superior to him, right? He might not be as exuberant of a promo as Cena is. Randy's more of a man a few words type deal, which I think suits him. But he's a far better wrestler. And I certainly think if anyone was going to be a huge threat, it could have been him. It maybe even have been Batista.
Do you think if Brock Lesnar never left, that Cena would not got that top spot? or it might have been prolonged.
I mean,
Brock was Vince's boy, handpicked, monster, athletic.
I don't know why in the back of my mind I hear, "Look at that beefcake! Look at all that meat!" Ugh. But I like that's a good argument. Is would Brock have knocked Cena down a peg? And I certainly think that was very possible. Um, I mean, look at how he's used now. Um, and the fans don't hate him. So he could have been money, and he could have been a legitimate threat to John Cena.
Well, look when he came back this last time, the first time he came back recently, and he just suplexed Cena repeatedly. It was ridiculous, which I think that led to a match at Extreme Rules, and he just tore him apart. Like, Brock is a legit animal.
Yes.
Legit beast. Would he have been the Andre to Cena being Hogan? Could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if Cena would have been up there as quickly as possible if it was not for Brock leaving.
I certainly don't think he would have stayed on top as long as he did. Not straight through 15, 20 years being on top. I certainly don't think that would have lasted as long.
Jersey Devil, I need a stat. What was the date that Brock Lesnar left WWE, and when did John Cena debut with Ruthless Aggression? Because I'm like, there has to be. I can't remember if they're that close, or
Which is another moment that Cena should have probably had some actual aggression, and he did it with a looking like he was just about to bust up laughing.
Do you sit there and think that Kurt Angle's last match should have been against John Cena?
I couldn't argue that would be.
It would have been a complete circle.
Yeah.
Kind of a nod. It didn't do Baron Corbin any good.
No. I mean, there's a number of guys I think I could have named off the top of my head that Kurt Angle should have went out against. But Cena would have been towards the top of the list, I think, just because of the history there.
Okay. Mike World Order sits there and throws out 6/27/02. Is that when? Which date is this? Is this the Lesnar leaving? Oh, Cena's debut, 6/27/02. Okay, now we gotta get when Brock's last day was. The first time when he got, when he left. But man, like if you think about John Cena. Like he came in early at the tail end of all these greats' careers. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Taker.
Well, actually, if that's Cena's debut, he was there right around the time Shawn was coming back.
Yeah. Well, remember they had that, was it triple threat match? That was him, Triple H, and Shawn?
Benoit. Well, I think they did have a
triple threat also.
A triple threat also.
They had a WrestleMania match too, didn't they?
Yes, and an hour-long match on Raw one night.
Okay, Brock left. Okay, so there was a year and a half difference, maybe 18 months. So, wow. So you sit there and put up these dates of Cena's debut, 6/27/02, and Brock's last match, 3/14/04.
Tell you what,
That there was John Cena's whole heel run. And then that's his whole hustle, thugonomics. Before he went and started doing the hustle, loyalty, respect. The fruity pebbles.
I might make a little bit of a bold prediction here. I think if Lesnar doesn't leave at that time and stays straight through, Cena gets fired. He was borderline ready to get fired already before that.
Yeah.
Until I forget what the moment was that stopped that from happening, but
it was him coming out rap. They let him rap. He was coming out wearing just, we're in Los Angeles. Oh, I'm gonna wear a Los Angeles Lakers jersey. You know.
Yep. So, maybe if Brock stays,
there it is.
I don't know.
Jersey Devil. Stephanie heard John Cena rap backstage, and gave him a chance.
So maybe that still would have saved him, but I think if Lesnar never left, Cena doesn't even touch the main event until much later. I think that would be my bold takeaway.
Man, could you imagine some early? Just take Cena out of the matches and put Brock in a Shawn Brock match. You know,
that would have been cool to see. That. I bet you Shawn wanted to work with Brock. He liked to work with guys that were different than him.
Yeah. But man, just yeah, he was in OVW when he was Prototype. That was probably one of the worst gimmicks names I've ever heard. Right up there with Batista's Leviathan.
Cena's character was basically the default character on a wrestling game.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, a lot of times they make that character, like before you even start doctoring up your character, he looks like Cena already. Cena or The Miz. I don't know why they used The Miz's face. But
hey, you sit there and base your character off of John Cena in the backyard.
No.
Yeah. You were wearing jean shorts.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Never.
Oh, don't tell me your early days.
Oh, I mean, Austin wore jean shorts. I think I was copying off of him.
So you're saying maybe John Cena stole them from you?
John Cena stole them from Steve Austin. That's what he did.
Oh man.
I mean, Austin didn't wrestle in the jean shorts, but he wore the jean shorts just in his regular outfit. So certainly, when did we? Cena was. I don't even know who Cena was yet when we started Backyard Wrestling.
I still don't know who he is today. I can't see him.
He's with us today on the podcast. You can't see him.
Oh man, we should have sit there and brought him in.
We're gonna throw it now to Cena.
Man, but man, it's like, yeah, I'm not really sure, but overall, I would have to sit there and say that John Cena's wrestling career is as acceptable as Hogan's wrestling career, in my opinion. There's too many I can't parallel Hogan to anybody else except for Cena.
As far as character goes, but
yes,
John Cena, in my eyes, didn't do for the business what Hogan did. He didn't make a mark on the business as a whole like Hogan did, or even like Austin did for that matter. Hogan opened the world of professional wrestling up to so many new eyes. Helped put WrestleMania on the map, and built the company off of Hulkamania, partially at least. I'll give it. He gets some of the credit for that. Austin brought wrestling to eyes that would never otherwise have ever tuned in, as well as the NWO. Got to give them credit for that as well. Cena, I think, did more to damage the company. He turned a lot of eyes away, in my eyes. And it took me a long time, but he was one of the ones. I mean, he just kept every week. I felt the love of wrestling just leave my body, and then I had to leave the room because it smelled. But they, it just killed it, and it made watching pay-per-views that much more boring because you already knew the outcome. You already knew he was walking away with the title.
You hoped he wouldn't.
Yeah, you hoped, but you knew. You had to know. He was winning. He won every feud he was in.
Jersey Devil goes, Hogan at least had Japan. But man, Mike World Order loved Hogan's album from Japan, Ichiban. And that brings us full circle to our great friend Mikey Whipwreck, Terry Funk's Barbra Streisand's nose. But to sum it up, WWE oversaturated the content with John Cena.
For sure.
And that's what they did with Roman Reigns now.
Yes. You know what they didn't do that with? Now, granted, you didn't have the exposure that you have today, but Hogan was barely seen in those days. You know, an appearance here on Saturday Night Main Event, and then the big pay-per-view. Never really wrestled much on Saturday Night Main Event, at least not that I remember. I feel like he was seen rarely.
And that's the way it was. It was an attraction. You know, you don't sit there and that's what I love how Vince does it with Brock. Like everybody was complaining when Brock had the title. Oh, bro, Brock's sitting there and has the title, but he's not around. He's only does this. Yeah, but when Brock's there, it makes it seem much more, like special.
Yeah, save him for the big money events.
So, Mike World Orders there puts that Hogan was at a big house shows. Yeah, Madison Square Garden. You sit there and see him. But man, what is your opinion, and do you think it would work today? WrestleMania 2, the whole concept, and separate the roster, 3 different cities, 3 different main events. Do you think they could do that today?
No. Unless you bring back a handful of workable legends. No. Because you don't have anyone, in my honest opinion, worthy enough to headline 3 different events. That would put butts in seats enough to fill the stadium. I don't see it.
Do you think? What era do you think would have been great for them to redo the that 3-city WrestleMania? Would you sit there and think like around the time WrestleMania goes Hollywood, you had Taker, Triple H, Shawn, JBL was hot as a heel, Eddie was there. Do you think that era, or would you want to go sooner with the Triple H, Rock, Hogan, Shawn, Brett era?
I certainly think both were doable. Late 90s or when was that WrestleMania goes on? What era was that? Was that 2008 ish? Somewhere around there.
WrestleMania 25.
WrestleMania 25. 2005 ish. So, yeah, I would think that one would work in late 90s. Where you had a lot of top talent. You had a lot of So Mike saying, see, one for Raw, one for SmackDown. A woman's. I'm gonna say maybe even NXT, but again, like they don't have the names, right? Let's say it's McIntyre, Roman that headlines one of those events. Okay, what is another viable headline match that's going to take up the spot in another location, and then the third location? Uh, Brock and somebody. But who's he going to go up against? So maybe it's Brock and Roman. Then you got McIntyre. Like who's left that you could say this is going to sell tickets and fill each one of these arenas based on these headlining matches. If it's not The Rock coming back, it's not Brock in a different match. I honestly don't see it. They've literally built no one else up.
And the last comments we're going to sit there and throw up here. Jersey Devil says not sure about 3 cities, but maybe a coast-to-coast WrestleMania, LA to New York. I could see that.
That's probably a lot more doable than 3. The stars aren't there for 3. It's just not there.
Yeah. So Renegade, we're gonna get some final thoughts.
Yeah, I want to know what how everyone else feels about this. Can Cena be considered one of the greats ever, or is there enough knocks against his career and his character that say, you know what, I feel like he's knocked down. Is he not in the top 20? Is he in the top 20? Is he in the top 10? Where does he rank amongst you guys? And is the dislike for him, is it fair?
Yeah. So, guys, you heard Renegade. This episode is going to drop on YouTube. Head on over there. Throw in the comments. Tell us what you think.
And it is one of the few places I will actually see comments. I don't get them anywhere else. So, yeah, sure. I mean, let us know what you think. Whatever you think of the show. What do you think of the topic we're talking about? I would love to hear what you guys think.
Yeah.
As well as here. So I appreciate all the comments and you guys joining in.
So, guys, it's been great. But what we're going to do is we're going to throw up some plugs right quick. As you know, at the bottom of the screen, head on over to brainbustertees.com/other/front row material. Check out our new merchandise. As of right now, we got FRM Pod. We've got Cult of Beardo. We've got Future Stars Now. Check out the merch. Head on over to YouTube, search Front Row Material. Give us a follow. It ain't that hard. Check out our videos. I be sitting there and sending a lot of stuff. I do giveaways. Check it out. And then, if you want to watch us live, go to twitch.tv/FRM Pod. Smash that follow button. We're live Monday nights, 8 o'clock, with us, Ritt and Renegade, for 6 Degrees of Ritt and Renegade. Then on Tuesdays, 9 o'clock, we have FRM Pod. 10 o'clock, we got FRM Pod After Dark. Thursdays, we got Cult of Beardo. It's myself, Renegade, and our good friend in the north, The Butt. And then Fridays, we've got Future Stars Now. That's where Freeland and I sit down with some of the top indie talent, let you guys get to know them on a personal level, and watch their career rise to the top. This Friday, we've got Marcus Mathers that'll be on our show. Guys, I have been doing a lot of booking and a lot of cooking. I've got all the way to February booked up of the top indie stars for Future Stars Now, and along with some great guests coming right here to Front Row Material on FRM Pod. Well, let me catch my breath. Guys, it's been great. Tune in next week to watch 6 Degrees of Ritt and Renegade. And, well, I'm the Ritt. He is the Renegade. See you next time.